Get ready to rant.
Welcome back to the Read It Rant podcast, a show where books take center stage and authors tell the stories behind their stories, and we never sugarcoat anything. I'm your host, Tony, and tonight I'm joined by author Lyra Vale, whose debut novel, Sunrise, is an emotionally driven contemporary story about endurance, relationships, secrets, tragedy, and the difficult journey toward healing. In only 6 months, Abby Thompson's life begins to unravel, her body betrays her past resurfaces, and the future she imagined starts slipping through her fingers. As secrets come to light and tragedy strikes her inner circle, Abby must decide whether darkness will consume her or whether she can hold on long enough to see the sunrise. But Sunrise is not simply a story about everything falling apart. It's about quiet resilience, emotional reckoning, and the fragile beauty that can be forged between people when everything else has been stripped away. It explores the kind of love that does not magically fix someone but remains beside them while they learn how to rise again. And Lyra Vale really describes herself as an author and world builder who writes across genre, and Sunrise really marks the beginning of that really creative journey. I'd like to welcome Lyra Vale to the Read It Rant podcast. I'm excited to introduce you and Sunrise to our listeners tonight. And I ask every single author this question before we step into the emotional world of Sunrise and this amazing book. Who is Lyra Vale, both as an author and as a person?
Well, I'm a mom of three, and I will say that I am very proud to have passed on the obsession with books, with reading and storytelling to my three kids. And when I'm not reading or writing, usually I'm spending time with my family doing whatever. As long as I'm spending time with them, I really don't care. So
Same here. I'm a father of three, so that's what I'm doing. When I'm not reading or doing this, that's what I'm doing. It's a joy to have kids and a joy to get to watch your kids grow up because not a lot of people can boast that, you know?
yeah.
But what first made you realize that writing was more than an occasional creative outlet and that you wanted to become a published author?
Um, I was 13, and that's initially when Sunrise came to me. And I knew because Twilight came out,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how well that was doing. I was like, oh, I want to do something like that. I would love to have book deals and all of that fun stuff, but I got nervous and gave it up for a while, and then came back to it a couple years ago and was like, I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What's the first story you ever tried to write besides Sunrise? Was it an earlier piece, or even if it was never completed or shared with anybody?
well, it was Sunrise, but Sunrise actually used to be about vampires and werewolves.
Oh, oh, you should write that. That sounds amazing. Like that. That's like a cool derivation, though. I mean, I like Twilight, but I mean, I really think that'll. You should do like a spin-off and like an alternate multiverse of like Sunrise.
Right, that'd be fun.
like like instead of sunrise, it's sunset.
It was going to be a three-part book. It was going to be Sunrise, Afternoon Star, and then Sunset.
You should so do that though. That'd be freaking dope. That'd be nice. Um, but you describe yourself as both an author and a world builder who writes across genres. What does world building really mean to you when you're writing a contemporary story rather than fantasy or science fiction?
Well, I think world building is all about it includes the characters. It includes the dynamic between the characters. It includes just even the town that they're set in, everything. It's all part of world building, and it's all important. And I just put myself in that person's shoes, and then it just kind of takes off from there. So
Gotcha. Are you naturally a very like emotionally observant person, or is that something you consciously developed as you learned to write?
I'm actually not a very observant person. um, it wasn't until the last couple years that like I've started literally staring at trees and like the way that bark like grows and everything. Just I'm like, oh, I should really start paying attention to that because I want to be able to explain and describe things in different ways rather than just the stereotypical favorite lines.
Gotcha. That's really an observe like I think writers have to really look at every minute detail when they write a book, especially when they're going to publish, because it really matters. As long as it's not an expository style of writing, I think especially when you begin pursuing publication, I think it's something that's really important. But what was the greatest fear you had to overcome since you were pursuing publication and you have been published?
My biggest fear was honestly just rejection. um, I knew it was going to happen. I did try to traditionally publish. I talked to multiple literary agents, but most of them didn't get back to me. So I finally was like, I'm impatient, so we're going to do this my way.
Um, and without like revealing anything, since you have been published, that you don't want readers to discover them, or how you want readers to discover for themselves. How would you introduce Sunrise to someone encountering it for the first time?
Oh, um, have a box of tissues on hand and hide your shovels beforehand.
I'm glad mine are buried in the shed. In the shed. uh, what was the original spark that eventually became Abby Thompson's story with Sunrise when you were 13? Besides Twilight.
My own experiences, um, like dynamic with friends and just kind of like wishing that I could have that because I was a kid that would, I didn't get to stay in one place. I moved around a lot, and so to be able to live in one place and have those deep rooted connections with friends and family is something that I always like had hoped for. And so I kind of pushed that into there. That's what it would look like for me if I were able to have that.
Did it begin with like Abby as a character, or a particular relationship, an emotional theme, or one specific scene?
Who? Um, One specific scene, really. Ironically, it's not in the book.
It got
um,
cut.
it did get cut because it was actually Abby moving to the town. So
Uh,
yeah.
was it a? I know in this story does follow 6 months in which Abby's life begins to unravel. Why was 6 months the right window for like time for this journey?
Well, because it starts when Abby graduates,
Hmm.
and I feel like if I take too long to tell the story, it's going to get boring. Nobody's going to want to read it, and I'm going to get bored of it. So I'm like, let's just make sure that I can get it in this gap. And I think 6 months fits that, especially because I've got character birthdays, I've got other important dates in there, and just to keep it flowing, but also make it realistic. So,
So, like, I know you mentioned this is supposed to be with vampires and werewolves. How did it transition from that to a contemporary romance with strong literary and psychological elements, or did its identity change during the writing process?
um, honestly, I started with the vampires and werewolves because of Twilight, and I took them out because of Twilight.
You should put
um,
them back in. That's pretty. That's I don't know. Twilight. I don't know. Everybody makes a bad. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean Twilight just gets got such a huge like put on a pedestal, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna get some backlash, but I'm gonna be honest. It is mediocre at best. Like I don't know. Like I think that there's so many more interesting characters that I mean the characters themselves are really timid in the novel, and even in the movies, which I'm not even gonna go there. Team Jacob, sorry. Um, but
Me too.
I'm a werewolf, dude. Yeah, I could never understand Edward's like train of thought in that whole movie. Like, guy was just creepy, just hanging out like, hi, like.
Right. Yeah. I
uh,
honestly, for a 13-year-old who becomes obsessed with Twilight, it's pretty
mhm,
common. Um, but then I realized like maybe I'm piggybacking off of it, and I don't want to do that.
mhm.
Um, because I want to make sure that I am giving the best representation of my character while also making it relatable. So that's why I took them out.
Ah, and piggybacking how? Sorry, I'm curious.
Well, I mean, Abby would have moved home. to live with her dad after her mom died,
Oh,
and there's already werewolves and vampires living there, and the disdain between the two, it's pretty similar. But I was like, I see too much going into this, so
hmm.
I'm going to back up.
So, fun fact: after I read Harry Potter for the first time when it first came out when I was 11, I read the first book, and I was younger when the 7 books came out, and I was there for the releases, and every single one. I actually tried to write like a Harry Potter fanfic. Like I tried to redo the whole academia thing because I was like seriously obsessed back in the day. Like I was so intrigued by the entire storyline of Harry Potter, and I when Twilight came out, I was actually in my old. I think I was older. I was like I think in my 20s when it came out. Um, so I didn't get that block of time where I'm like, ah, Twilight. I was a little bit older, and I'm like, I don't understand what all the hype is.
Yeah.
Um, did you outline the major emotional narrative turns in advance, or did you allow the characters to guide the direction of the book?
I am a very character driven person when it comes to my writing. So I just, like, yeah, I had some ideas, but I let them lead the way as long as it navigated to where I needed it to go.
What was that? What was the most important promise you wanted the opening chapters to make to the reader?
That all of the characters are just normal human beings just like us, and everybody has their ups and downs, and as long as you have the right people around you, that's how you survive. So
And I know this book is 440 pages. How did you determine how much space like Abby's journey really needed?
I didn't. I just wrote until it finished.
Speaking of Abby, who is she when readers first meet her, and what would she want people to believe about her?
Ooh, Abby is the kind of person that will bend over backwards for you, and she will basically never tell you no. She believes you when you tell her something. Um, she has no reason not to believe you. Um, and then as she grows, she realizes that's not true. And she no longer is that innocent, naive girl that just only sees the good in people.
What is beneath that outward version of her? What is she struggling to admit to herself?
She, oh, that's a good question. Um, she really, she struggles with the truth for herself and admitting what she wants, and she's afraid that it will break up the only thing that she has ever held on to, which is her friends and family. And she is afraid that if she says or does the wrong thing, that it will ultimately create a break that she doesn't think she can survive from.
And I know that you did say that she bends over backwards, and she has a hard time saying no. When you built Abby and her personality, how did you do that beyond the tragedies and the difficulties that she experienced?
She's me. She
Oh,
is me. So,
hmm.
every one of my characters is, except for one, every character except for one is part of me and like who I am as a person. I'm a very shy person, so I kind of don't like to talk to people very much, and
Hmm.
um, being able to express myself through my characters is like the only comfortable way I have.
And I know when you write a character like Abby whose life is unraveling, how do you preserve her humanity because she has such a hard time saying no without defining her entirely by her suffering?
Uh, Good question. I
They always are. I have
don't know
people that
how I
say that
did
all the
it.
time.
I don't know how
It's
I
like,
did it.
ta-da!
Yep,
I
just
just write with
it
I have magic
happens.
pens. The
Yes.
keyboard is magic.
Oh yeah.
um, I guess I don't know if you're gonna have an answer to this question either. How did you keep those experiences from like emotionally blending into one another? Because the story really experiences several different forms of loss and uncertainty.
Ooh. Um. I tried to separate them with comedy. um.
That's a good catalyst.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It honestly, as I'm writing, I'm crying, and so I'm like,
Oh.
I gotta find a way to make myself laugh, so I stop crying so much because I don't want this to just be a sad book. There needs to
Hmm.
be funny moments in there, and I mean, I got some. I think I got some pretty good ones because I was chuckling and got my kids laughing, and my husband's like, "Oh my gosh."
What kind of comedies in here? Is it like sarcasm or witty humor and banter,
There's
or just weird
sarcasm.
jokes?
It's all of it.
Mhm.
There's jokes about ketchup. There's jokes about hot topic. There's um, banter between um, Sienna and Jared, who are in a relationship.
Mhm.
It's a lot, and like they always have um, these bets. They like to bet on each other on who's gonna win in certain predicaments. So yeah.
And I know that she does unravel in the book emotionally. Why was it important to really portray a quieter, more gradual form of emotional collapse?
I see it as more real, because it's not always what you see on TV where people just automatically have big emotions that everyone sees, that it's like common knowledge, everything's happening. It's really what people don't see that
Hmm.
really tends to hit hard. And I know of several people that have told me that they relate to Abby and how she copes with things, and even how Josh copes with things, Sienna copes with things, all of it. Um, the favorite character is Casey, and her her portrayal of like depression and um, all of that really, I think, hits home for a lot of people. So yeah.
And I know with people that have been through a lot of traumatic experiences in life, laughter and humor is a coping mechanism. Um, but how did you really, especially with people that have been overwhelmed and like depression, but how did you capture the contradictions that can appear in someone like Abby who is overwhelmed?
Personal experience. That's the best answer I got.
Um, did she ever make choices while you were writing that surprised or frustrated you?
uh yeah, frustrated me for sure, for sure. But you always get frustrated with yourself over things. So
Hmm.
it's just like talking to yourself, like, why would you do that?
um, Without revealing, her ultimate destination, how is the Abby at the end of this 6 month period different from the person readers meet at the beginning of the book?
Hmm. While she still tries to see the good in people, she is more wary and more cautious of relationships and people, and she still wants to keep people close, even if those people don't feel like they deserve it. Um, but for strangers or people she doesn't know as well, they are still going to be at arm's length versus in the beginning, she's like, oh yeah, I'll bring you in. You're my friend now. In
Hmm.
the end, she's like, maybe not.
And because this book does deal with like trauma and grief and physical illness, did you conduct any research into them topics? while we're developing the story, but because you did like kind of branch off your own life experiences?
Um, no, that was all up here
Mhm. How did you resist the temptation to make Abby's recovery too orderly or convenient?
because it's not real. I I want it to be relatable. I want I want women, men, kids, everyone to feel like they're not alone in things. And if
Mhm.
I make it too easy, then everyone will say, "Well, what's wrong with me?" And I don't want that. Not for anyone.
And I know, in your mind, between writing a resilient character and writing a character who is simply forced to endure suffering, what's the difference?
Say that one more time.
What is the difference in your mind between writing a resilient character and writing a character who is simply forced to endure endless suffering?
Um, that that is a question I'm still asking myself for my next book.
What's it? So let's talk about that for a minute. What's that going to be called? What's that have to do? So what's that like? What's it
um,
about?
so it's called Ashen Axiom, and it's a
Okay.
dystopian, uh, new age, new adult story, and it's going to be multi-view like Sunrise, but it's only
Mm-hmm.
going to be through um, the two main characters' eyes instead of incorporating friends and all of that like I did in Sunrise. It's going to just be Declan and Lila, and Lila is like from the resistance, and Declan is from the city, and Lila rescues Declan,
Mm-hmm.
and everything like he thought was the truth and was real was not. And like every dystopian world, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Are you gonna have
Um,
like some kind of trial or something where they kind of hook up where like, it's like Schultz is the conscript or like a Hunger Games kind of thing?
um, no. There is romance in there. But I feed more off of like Uglies by Scott Westerfelds and
Mm-hmm.
Divergent, and um, you know, I'm looking up because all my books are up there. um, but
That's
I
okay.
I feed off of those more because Uglies was the first dystopian book that I ever read, and my
Mm-hmm.
father actually gifted it to me when I was like 11, and I just became obsessed with it. And
Mm-hmm.
then them creating the movie for Netflix, I was like, oh, this is just like lit the spark one more time for me. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
have to write something now. So
So when did that spark hit it when you were 11, or was it when it how did that whole idea come about?
it really came about um, around the time that I published Sunrise. I I really love music. Music tends to sway a lot of inspiration for my books and my stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually listening to the Divergent music, and
Hold on, soundtrack or like various artists, or like
the
score composition or like.
so various artists. So
Uh,
Ellie Goulding, um, but I was listening to Zed, the "I Will Find You" song,
mm-hmm. Yes.
and I fell asleep listening to it. And I woke up with like the entire second book just already written in my head, and I was like, "Oh, I'm writing this down." And the only thing that's stopping me now is writing the first book.
Oh. So the first book is gonna have the same premise, but it's gonna the one you had in your head was pretty much developed. The second book, but you need the first book to actually get the series started.
Yeah,
How far along are you writing the first book?
that's a good question. Yeah. Um, let's
It's all
see.
free
I
for all
have
up here.
like 4 drafts, um, and they're not even finished. I always get to like maybe chapter 12, chapter 20, and then I'm like, nope, it sucks. And I go back. So I've not completed it. Um, I haven't completed a single draft yet. I'm still working on it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Is there gonna, you know how many books it's gonna be yet?
At least two. I know
Be
that
a
for certain.
duology. And what
Yeah.
about Sunrise? Is that gonna be is that a standalone? Or gonna write another sequel, prequel, novella, 10 book
I
series?
do have a short stories in the works about things that happen like before sunrise, during sunrise, and after sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually have been playing in my head, turning a second book into like a psychological thriller.
Oh,
Um,
really? Oh,
yeah.
do tell, do tell.
um, I want to, but I also don't want to give anything away. So, because it will give things away
Oh,
for sunrise.
jeez. That's like one of my other favorite genres. What inspired you to write a psychological thriller? Because you got dystopia, you pulling from all the stops. You could have a multi-genre book right now. Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're slowly tiptoeing into fantasy. You realize that, right?
Oh, I've got a fantasy in the works too. I do.
Okay, do tell now because I said some. I opened the door. What is it? Got a spell?
It's called Teneria. Um,
Oh,
it's oh, do I have it? Oh, I don't have it with me. It's going to be about a soldier that has to travel with the prince to rescue the different realms from utter destruction because they the kingdom has done a no-no and now it needs to be fixed.
what's the no-no? They dabbled in dark magic or something?
um, More like the usurping of a king.
Oh, we got some serious House of the Dragon going on here. Oh shoot, greens and the blacks. Um, well, so what kind of world are you going to build in this fantasy? Are they going to be like mages, witches, wizards, dragons, griffins, that
It's
kind of
going
stuff?
to kind of be like an elemental style, like realms. So I've got like the Fey realm, which is, you know, nature and it's greenery, trees, plant life. And then I've got,
We're gonna have
um,
like a Akatar situation over here.
no.
Thank
um,
God.
I do have a fire realm,
Hmm.
water realm, and the light realm, which is where the kingdom presides, is in the light realm. And then I also have a darkness realm.
Oh,
And I have to overcome my own fears because I don't like spiders and I don't like, you know, creepy crawly things, but I am incorporating those into my story, so that's going to be fun.
so where did the inspiration? Because I know everybody seems to draw like inspiration from Tolkien, especially with Ungoliant and Shelob. Where did that kind of inspiration come from for this fantasy world? Like, what drew you to write it? Besides the hype for Akatar.
Actually, I hadn't even read ACOTAR at that point.
Really?
I love ACOTAR, like we've
Hmm.
discussed before, but
Yeah.
I actually did not pick that up until a few months ago. And
Same here. I read it like a year ago.
yeah, and I've been writing Teneria since about the time Sunrise was published. So, um, I want to say a lot of it does have to do with Tolkien, um, but I also have a fascination with like Celtic mythology and Norse mythology, um, and fairies are like my number one thing. I love fairies,
Now we
and
talking like pixies, like or Tinkerbell, or that, or like
yeah,
actual like fairies.
like Tinkerbell. And also,
Oh,
I have another book that is actually my biggest inspiration. Let's see if I can pull it down. But Wings by April Lynn Pike is, oh, it is my favorite.
what's that about?
It is about a girl who was a changeling, and sort of, and she has to save um, the fairy realm from the trolls, and uh, she doesn't know that she's a fairy at all. She doesn't know this until she's like a teenager in high school, and things start happening because they're trying to sell um, the family land,
Hmm.
to move like to the city, and the concept with the different types of fairies, because there's there's seasons. So, winter, spring, summer, fall, and each one has a different purpose. And I think it's, I think that's my biggest inspiration. I do love how her fairies are not as like conventional winged fairies. They don't have wings, they have flowers, based off the, like, whenever your flower blooms, that's the type of fairy you are.
Hmm.
And then you have special powers based off of that. But to incorporate that, I was like, I really like that, but I can't make all of it just about fairies. I need to have like the fae as their own little own little realm, and then I'll incorporate all the others because Selkies are my second favorite, in terms of mythological creatures. And I was like, I need to incorporate all of this because they're
Hmm.
they're awesome.
They are. I love Celtic and Gaelic mythology. I think that's where we draw most of our, like our wizards and that kind of and druids from, because there were druids in Gaelic mythology, even in Gaelic society. I actually have books downstairs on Gaelic and Celtic mythos as well as history. I'm a huge history nerd. I'm actually thinking about doing one of my history unfiltered podcast about that because it's like one of my I love like anything to do with ancient mythology. Like I think it's where a lot of authors draw a lot of inspiration, and
Yeah.
I love how a lot of authors take inspiration from multi mythos and different cultures and morph them into one giant book, and it just hits so hard. And that's why like I love indie authors because you guys are not afraid to take risks. Like Trad will not push anything besides what they already have right now existing because they're afraid to take risks. You guys aren't, and I have to applaud you guys tenfold because like that takes balls. Um, and honestly, like I can't wait to read whatever you have like with fantasy and even Sunrise and even anything because like your premise and everything sounds so intriguing to the point where you incorporate everything besides contemporary romance into the story, which makes the romance hit so much harder. And I know there's another indie author that does the same thing by the name of Tim Kyle, and I like how you guys really write contemporary romance because it's not a genre I would normally read, but when there's other aspects to to give the story more depth and it's not just about romance, I think you actually intrigue more than one style of reader, which is a craft and a gift in of itself.
Yeah. I like, I like the stereotypical romance, but I also feel like Hallmark has kind of killed that for me a little bit.
Oh my god, my grandma used to watch the movies, and I used to love like the Good Witch and like that. I used to love watching it with her because
Yeah.
she's a nice lady. But I mean, like it get the same plot over and over. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, can we get some action in here? Can we get somebody who isn't wholesome? Like, because nobody freaking behaves like that.
Yeah.
Like, what what was the one we watched? There was a guy that basically his flight got canceled, and he was basically homeless with money, and like he like was found this family. They invited him for Thanksgiving, and now they fell in love. And he can cook, and he's a chef. And I'm like, okay, this in real life this doesn't happen. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
That's yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I mean,
mhm.
I
That
feel
was a
like if
while
you've
ago.
seen one, you see them all.
Yeah.
So,
Um. But I mean, if you can like deliver one completely unfiltered rant about writing, publishing, storytelling, or the way emotionally complicated characters are treated by readers, what would you want to get off your chest?
I think people need to just get the concept of morally gray characters being the love interest. I think while it's great in some things, it doesn't need to be in everything. Like, I feel every time I open a book now, there's some morally gray character that becomes the center of the main character's world. And
Mm-hmm.
while I do love that, like I said, I love Akatar, I love Throne of Glass. I feel like it's just like Hallmark. If you see one, you see it all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was just thinking the same thing. I know I love dark romance and I love morally gray stuff, and I don't mind smut or spice or whatever. But I feel like in the genre as a whole, it's overly promoted. It's overly talked about. It's overly hyped, and I have a really I like variety. It's like food. I love food. I used to be a chef. I can't eat one style of food. Like I'll go crazy. it's the same thing with books. Like I like a variety of books, and like I know I think in this community and like book talk especially, like they do a really good job of promoting dark romance. But I feel like novels like yours with a contemporary romance drama vibe, as well as fantasy or psychological thrillers, which I can't wait to read that by the way, because like that's one of my top three genres I love to read. The edge of your seat. Hold on, is there edge of your seat moments in that psychological thriller?
Yes, they're
I know.
already playing in my head.
So, I guess we could tiptoe around the no spoilers because now you said the magic words, which is psychological thriller, and I just did a Chris Witt rant mail, and he writes really good ones. And his book, The Dark Lock, it screwed me up mentally. I'm still trying, I still can't stop thinking about it. But I guess without revealing spoilers, can you like tiptoe around what it's going to be about, so I don't sit here wondering for the next 7 months of what it's going to be about?
It's 10 years into the future from
Okay.
when sunrise is set. And more than one familiar face comes back. Um, Not for the better in most cases.
Is it
um,
felony and not a romance?
uh, yeah, definitely. Um,
Hmm.
there's some twists in there that I think people reading the first one will go, huh? Because one character is portrayed as a not so good person when they actually it's not their fault. I don't do redemption arcs. I don't believe in redemption arcs, but this one character I think deserves a little bit of a redemption arc.
Do you have any characters in your story where you think that the villain the whole time, they're literally the protagonist of the whole story that's literally preventing other people from doing really sinister, evil things?
Not not for Sunrise. Possibly for the second book.
Hmm. Did I just give you an idea, or was that for real, like the whole time?
For real the whole time.
I was like, did I just give her an idea? Because sometimes people are like, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, oh shit, I could have wrote that, but nah. But but what are you hoping that most readers take away from Sunrise because it's such an expansive, amazingly written novel?
um, I really just hope that people realize that they're not alone in any of their struggles, no matter what. That we need to remember that everybody is going through something, and it's not all about you, but it's also not about you, um, because everyone matters. And if if anybody wants to reach out and tell me their own stories after reading it, I am all ears. They're personal stories, not writing stories.
Uh-huh.
Um, I am all ears. I am a shoulder to cry on. If anybody needs that, I will take the yelling, the swearing, the I'll take it all. So yeah.
What kind of are there heavy like traumatic vibes in this book or emotional vibes that would lead somebody to do that? Are there trigger warnings at the beginning?
There is some trigger warnings for domestic violence and sexual assault. Um, so I do like if it really is triggering to you, do not read it. Because it can get you in that headspace, and I know from personal experience certain triggers can be too much. So don't push it if you really can't. But I do hope that if you do read it, that you take away from it that you are stronger than you think,
Hmm.
that you can overcome this and you will never be alone.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, I didn't know that going into it. I need to read that book because Adam and everybody tells me it's an. I know Jay Wright and Adam all tell me it's a good book. Um, I think it's probably going to be on the next rant stack, along with like 50 other books. The Nom's probably my next eight because I do want to read it. I love a good like tearjerker and like just emotionally gripping story that just keeps you interested because I do like Nicholas Sparks as well, so I have all his work as well. So, um,
Yeah,
it just
I love Nicholas Sparks. Like Safe Haven is
hmm
something that I compare it to a little bit.
I I was looking up a reading guide for him because everybody was giving me like I know he has like his own, but like I think the first book you have to start with I think is the Notebook. I don't think it's a Walk to A Walk to Remember is actually the first movie I ever saw growing up. In this genre of like romance, and I was like 13. That came out when I was 13. Actually, no, that came out when I was 12, and I saw that and I like fell in love with Mandy Moore and her singing, and I'm like, I'm gonna marry her.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, that was a good movie. But ever since then, I kind of fell in love with the genre and then fell in love with the storytelling that Nicholas Sparks tells. And he doesn't just tell a romance; he tells an emotionally gripping drama. And it sounds like Sunrise is that as well. And I really, I can't wait to go on that kind of emotional journey. Because it's I get, I mean, for me, I get at times I get tired of like fairies and wizards and crazy stuff happening in dark romance. That's nice to have a nice palate cleanser. That's it's might be an emotional, traumatic element to the story, but at the same time, there's wholesome concepts in it where you can kind of like get back to the real world with real world concepts and vibes and like situations
Yeah.
to kind of like cleanse yourself from lights out and haunting Adeline and all that stuff.
Yeah.
um because a lot of that stuff's pretty heavy. But would you ever write a dark romance or like a any kind of in like that kind of genre? Have any ideas swimming around in the head?
Um, not really. I'll read it, but I'm not gonna write it.
uh, is it too hard? I hate to press the issue. If it makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Um, is it too hard of a genre to write because there's such like heavy traumatic elements, or is it just not something that interests you?
Um, I mean, the the thought of like writing smut and a lot of smut is the challenge for me because I'm just like, not everybody wants to read that, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we give readers that don't want that stories that will still make them feel something other than just whoo shadow daddy.
Mm-hmm. I think that like, and I know Spice gets. I think one of my biggest complaints with a lot of smut or Spice books is the fact that a lot of times Spice is filler, and it takes away from the actual storyline. And I feel like it's usually towards the end of the book, and I can't stand that because I just want to get to the end and see what's gonna happen. Like all these extra pages of Spice is just unnecessary. Like it's just that's something I wish that the dark romance community and the writers would really like kind of rein in, um, just because it doesn't add to the emotional connection or the depth of the story. It's useless in my opinion to the entire story.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
I have a little bit of, we'll say, spice because it's closed door. But it does further the plot versus
mhm,
just, oh, let's get it on. Like it
mhm,
actually is like, okay, this, I can see why this is put in there because then this has to happen in order for this to happen. And
mhm.
so I prefer those types of books, but every once in a while I'm perfectly fine with a little bit of, Akatar.
And I hate to knock on Akatar. I mean, it's not a bad series. It's just that the first book was really hard for me to get through until they got like Under the Mountain.
Yeah.
I gotta read the second book. I'm just nervous to read the second book because the first book in the beginning was really hard to get through because it was just oh, I got so much flack from the Akatar fangirls from my rant on that book. Holy cow, I got torn apart.
Yeah, well, when I first started reading it, I actually posted on TikTok. I was like, "Is Akatar just Beauty and the Beast?"
It is.
And
It's a dark retelling, literally.
I got
Until
yelled
they
at.
get a yeah, I got freaking destroyed on my YouTube channel in the comments. I had to delete this girl's comment because oh my god, like she was just like nasty. I'm like, bro, it's a book. Calm down. Like Jesus. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I already knew that Tamlin was bad news, but
mhm.
I went
See,
into
I
the
didn't
whole
know any of
thing.
that.
Ugh, the
I
entire
didn't
time
know
I read that
Tamlin was
book.
bad news. I was just like weirded out by Resand, and he at the end he's like, "How you doing? What's going on?" You know, he like saves her from all the trials. So like he's like sleeping, and all of a sudden she's in a fireplace. He's like, "What's going on? Oh, by the way, here you go." And then that like saves her life. I'm like, dude, you pop out of nowhere like that. Like, where the hell did you come from? Like,
Yeah.
and and I think like the whole ending of Avatar was super rushed with that Annabelle chick with the black hair. I don't know what her name was, but it was super confusing when I read it. I was trying to picture it, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. It's rushed, and like the whole beginning of the book led to Under the Mountain, and then all of a sudden it's over, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like the buildup was just horrible, and I said all this stuff on a rant, and I got mutilated. Oh my god.
Yeah, but
People
book
like
two for sure. Book two is probably, in my opinion, the best one. I know most people are gonna argue with me and say Court of Wings and Ruin, or Court of Silver Flame, or whatever it's called. But no, it hands down it's number two. It
yeah, that number
Court of
two is
Mist
a
and
thick
Fury.
book. I gotta read that, and then I people are like, you don't have to read the Christmas novella. I'm like, well, does it add interest to the story? And then I found out that after the third book, because I have the whole box set, I have Throne of Glass, I have Crescent City. Like, I bought the whole thing for the hype train, and I kicked myself when I bought it because I read the first one, and I'm like, whew, I want to fall asleep. Like, and it just got to the point where like you got to read the second book, man. I'm like, well, what about the Christmas novella? And then I find out that after the third book and after the Christmas novella, we get to a whole different storyline. I'm like, for the sister, I'm like, well, what happened? Why did you write a 6 book series, and then Freya's story stops after book 3, and her sister, what's her face, starts then? And
Yeah.
then I find out that Moss is writing more books that are being released later on this year and early next year. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm trying to crack down and finish all of them before October. It's really hard.
It is, and I'm stuck. I mean, I don't really get much time to read these days. I need to, but I'm just by the time it gets because I got 3 kids of my own, and they have like all special needs and complex medical issues. So by the time 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, oh, I think it's time for bed.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same with me with my writing and everything. I sit down and I'm like, my brain is going 50 miles an hour, but my body's
Mhm.
like, go to bed.
Like I sit down at night and I'm like, okay, I can't sit down to read till my chores are done, my kitchen's clean. There's no like I got like a honey-do list of stuff I gotta do, and by the time I'm done, it's like midnight, and then
Yeah,
I'm just like, let's just watch Game of Thrones. And then I just fall asleep, and I'm like, I need to read.
yeah,
uh, man. But I want to thank you, for joining me tonight and giving us a spoiler-free look behind Sunrise, Abby Thompson's emotional journey and the creative process, that brought this story into the world. Sunrise is a contemporary story about what happens when life and someone imagined begins slipping away. It explores secrets, tragedy, relationships, emotional endurance, and the quiet strength required to keep moving through the darkness until the first light finally appears. And to everyone listening, make sure you support Lyra Vale by purchasing Sunrise, following her author pages, and staying informed about her future work. Support independent authors. Does not stop after discovering a book. You need to review it, recommend it, share it, and help that story reach its next reader. Make sure you're also following me here at the Read It Rant podcast on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify for more author interviews, honest book discussions, reviews, recommendations, and of course, plenty of seriously unfiltered rants. Until next time, keep turning the pages, keep supporting indie authors, never be afraid to embrace the rant. I'm your host, Tony. This is the Read It Rant podcast, and we are out.